Okay, I'm going to show how to run a couple of our scripts. One of them is mirror poses from left to right. This is useful for animation or whatever. Here I'm not using the control set. There will be scripts or demos in future of how to manipulate it using the controls. This is just manipulating it using the skeleton. Also useful if you want to reset the bind pose. A lot of the animations we're going to be importing are going to come from Mixamo, whatever. And we model by default in the A pose, which has its problems and limitations. Now this character has already been skinned. Let's just go to another one. 21, let's try this one. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to the A pose here. All right, so this character has already been skinned. All of the clothes and everything has been skinned as well. You can see there's some tearing happening here and there. So the skinning here would need more work, obviously. But for the most part, it's working. So let's say this character has been skinned, and now you're ready to import some animations from Mixamo. The problem with that is if you bring in the Mixamo skeleton, and we just quickly take a look at this. This is the bind pose. It's in the T pose. Now I don't want us to model in the T pose because it's going to bunch up geometry too much by the shoulders, and I don't want that. And there's too much twisting in the arms, and then it makes skinning also harder, more difficult. So I'm just going to show the orientation here. This is the Mixamo skeleton, which is the same skeleton we're going to be using. I just want to get rid of the namespace here quickly. So we're using this exact same layout. There will be a script to convert this to a control set, and that will basically unparent all of the bones and then create controls for animators to animate. But there are going to be animations that we're going to be importing from Mixamo, and then we'd like to be able to change them as well. But if we now just keep this in mind, look at this skeleton here, and I'm going to reopen up that other scene, previous one. And now you can look at our skeleton, the one that we're going to be using or modeling against. You see the legs are a little bit apart. A pose, it's completely different. There's bend in the arms, more bend in the legs, but you'll see the structure is exactly the same. But there is an addition as well. I've included a jaw. Well, we're going to be including a jawbone. There might be more in future after this training video or demo video. But for now, this is what we've got. This character does not have any blend shapes or morph targets assigned, and there will be those as well, but they won't affect. They won't be driven by bones. They'll be driven by normal, obviously blend shapes. Okay, so the first thing I would want to do, if I just look at this orientation. It's completely different. Excuse me. This was created using our script, the create skeleton script, where you place a bunch of locators in specific places, and then you run the script. And there's a reason for that, because we want this mirrored behavior here, for starters. And same for the shoulders. We want that behavior. And then the same goes for the hands and the fingers as well. The fingers will also work the same way. Just going to hide the rotation axis here, so you can see it's the rotation axis points X towards the child, which is what you want. And where it splits, like here's a split. This isn't really a bone. This is just a parenting, whatever. It will. I chose to point upwards here towards the spine instead of towards the split. Like here, as it's going to the left and right legs. And if you create the skeleton using the script, then the mirroring script will work as well, which we're going to run in a second. Now, the mirroring script is very useful for quite a few reasons. I'm going to hide this because it's going to be a bit in the way. So the first thing I want to do is load up that script. Now, you could put it in your on your shelf, but I think we will be creating a company UI or GUI to help. So this is what you're going to find in the company workflow modeling scripts Google Drive. You should have access to that. If you don't, just ask. So the first thing I'm going to run is this MirrorPose Goofish. It's a Python script. I'm just going to paste it in here. And we do have some options here. You can specify the orientation or the mirror vectors or the inversion vectors, whatever you want to call it. So we always only select joints on the left and it will mirror to the right. And if you select nothing, it will do the root. So it will always do all children and not just one, not just the root bone. So just be aware of that. And then, so if all our skeletons should be created using our create skeleton script, and if they're not, then this script is obviously not going to work because these vectors are not going to be correct. If for some reason they aren't correct and you're not seeing the correct behavior, you will need to come in here and modify these values or ask for help, and someone will show you how to find the correct values to enter here. So I'm not going to go through the whole script and what it does. You can read through that yourself. It's a very, very simple script. I'm going to just drag it off to the side so it's out of the way. And then I'm just going to do a quick demo here of what it does. So if let's rotate the shoulder and the arm up a little bit. And then I'm just going to run the script by just selecting the shoulder. And then you see it mirrored the right side here. And similarly for the leg, any rotations you do here will be applied. Now, if I just quickly undo that and I don't select anything, and let's do the eye as well because it's important to know what happens with the eye. I'm not selecting anything, I'm just running the script now, and it goes through the whole skeleton. But you see the eyes do not have mirrored behavior, and that's what we want. We want the eyes to follow, to not be mirrored. And the same will go for the fingers. So if what angle am I rotating on here? Oh, okay. So if we just run it again, it should have flipped it over. So let's get rid of this skeleton quickly so we can see. Looks the same everywhere. Right? So the idea is now using this tool to get the skeleton into more or less this shape here, more or less this orientation. Now you're going to be rotating it, right? So and if you set all of these rotation, and we only set rotation values on for FK, we never set translation values. We never key translation values. Obviously they're going to contain translation values for their positioning relative to their parent, but we never modify those values. Now the skeleton is obviously, it's been bound, right? So any changes you try and make now, it's going to affect the skin, meaning you won't be able to orient this orient the skeleton or change any of its values to create a new bind pose. I just want to move a couple of values here to demonstrate again. So now I'm just going to run the script. So the idea is to try and get this thing matching as closely as possible to the T-pose. So you'll see my legs here, I think, are too straight. So I would probably want a little bit of rotation here and a little bit of rotation here. And then just maybe flatten the foot a bit. Now this foot has got a funny orientation, but it does look cool when she walks. It actually creates this really cool, it looks pretty cool, I think. Anyway, so that foot still looks a little bit iffy to me. And it is sticking through the ground, which might be a problem. I think that's more straight. Let's see. Now I'm going to mirror again. Right. And let's see what is the overall look of the skeleton. If I just select it, I'd probably want to bring the foot back a little bit more. Because you probably want the shoulders and the ankles to be in line as much as you can for that bind pose, right? Now, if you were to just, let's do this demonstration quickly. I'm just going to save. Let's work with, I think I can just save this, it's fine. I'm going to go to a new save. Now, currently there's no animation on here, so nothing should happen, right? I'm going to just import an animation. This is a Mixamo animation I'm importing, and this was created using Atom. I think it's this walk animation here. We can just import that. All of these animations, I'll show you how to create those in a second. Let's import it and see what happens. So, because of our orientation, obviously these animations are not going to work. Right, it looks wrong. It's completely broken. Okay, that was a good point to show. All right, let me just check which one did I save now. I think I saved 23. All right, so let's open up 23. Okay, so yeah, the orientation's wrong. These joints contain rotation values. What I want now is I want to make this the new bind pose. I just want to change one little thing here. I just want to rotate this a little bit up and just rerun the mirror script. Let's see if that makes a difference, because there's something I noticed that I didn't like earlier. Okay, so let's open up that script. It's called a reset bind pose. Just going to grab all the text there once again, replace it in here. It's a Python script. It has a few options. You can indicate if you want to export the weights. If you're running the script more than once, you only need to export weights once. You don't need to do it again. And I was thinking of making it optional to reorient the joints to the world. So just be aware that it's going to change the orientation to match the Mixamo skeleton. In the future script, there's probably going to be an option to not do this, so you can just change your bind pose after you've skinned it for whatever reason you want, and keep it in the A pose, obviously, and don't reorient. So what this is going to do, you're going to select geometry, all of your skin geometry, right? So when you do this, don't have multiple skeletons in here. You can only have one, and it must be exactly this naming convention that we're using here, otherwise the script won't work. This is our skeleton that we use. We're not going to have more than one skeleton in a Maya scene. All of the geometry that are skinned against the skeleton, you'll see here in the list. If I were to show the connections here, you're going to see 10 skin clusters. The skeleton has got 10 skin clusters. And all of them go to various of these meshes here. I'm going to just drag the script off to the side because I'm not going to be editing it. And it's going to, this includes hair and everything like that. So all of these things obviously have been skinned. I just get a hold of the neck here. You can see the hair is going along. You can see the shirt's been skinned. Another shirt that's been skinned. Just make sure I zero that out again. The pants as well. Obviously, you can see that. And the shoes. The shoes have been skinned. And the base here, the toe base. Now, there's a little bit of geometry sticking through here. Normally, we're not going to be creating corrective blend shapes for our game models. That's not going to work because we want to have character customization, and we're just obviously going to increase complexity. But that's not for this video. So that just means the meshes will need to be not so tight fitting, and they need to give some space to allow for geometry to deform. Right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to select your skin geometry, and you're not going to be selecting the skeleton. And then what you're going to do is you're going to run the script. Keeping in mind these guys here have, like I said, they've got rotation on them. Their orientation is still the same as it was. If I were to show orientation, you can see it's still the default, right? So just the geometry. Don't select any groups. It's not going to make sense. You have to select just the geometry. And you have to select all geometry, skin to that skeleton, to reset the bind pose. Right now I'm just going to run the script. Right, it's finished. Let's see what it did. So now there's no more rotation values here. There are no more rotation values here. And if I were to move this, it's still retained its skinning information that I've set. And you see there's those rotation values are 0. So it's effectively, you've created a new bind pose now, and it's now in the T pose. And everything is still, you know, the way it was. Nothing is broken. All right. So what did it actually do? If you go and look in your project folder, you're going to see a bunch of XML files. So what the script actually does is it goes through all of the geometry you've specified, exports the weights using this deform export weight function, right? Where you specify what you want to export, it creates an XML file, and then copies the mesh. So it makes a duplicate of this mesh, because if you were to, if I could undo it quickly. You can undo the script. It should work, right? So if I were to just unbind the skin here, it's going to jump back to the position it was in before it got skinned. Okay, so then it duplicates the mesh, rebinds the skeleton, and then re-imports those weights using the same function here. That's why you only need to export them once. Then afterwards you can just set this little Boolean flag here to false. So now I don't need to export the weights again because I've already done it once. Meaning you can run the script more than once. Right? Let's give it a run. And it's finished. And now let's look at our mesh and just make sure that it's still working. Yeah, looks good. I don't check all of them. You don't need to. You'll generally see if this thing breaks, what will happen is your mesh will just shard and go all over the place, and then you know something's wrong. then just call someone to help you if you can't figure it out yourself. Right. There is an example of something not working. It actually broke there. So what I would do, I would close Maya and just quickly do it again, because it's not supposed to do that. So let's go back to and it will sometimes do that. It will sometimes just not work for whatever reason. Right, my script window is open again here. I've still got that flag set to false. I'm going to change it back to true to force it to re-export those. Actually, let's try first with false and see. Shouldn't really make a difference. So I still have my rotation values here. And I'm going to select everything. And then I'm going to run my script. Just want to unlock this nice animation here. Let's run it. Yeah, I see it's breaking again. So there's obviously something wrong with the file. Let's see if I force it to re-export it, if it makes a difference. Nope, still broken. Okay, that's very unexpected. I could fix it manually. I really didn't want to, but I could. I mean, you can just go here and just hammer these. Not really sure why that happened. So unfortunately, you are gonna get weird things happening sometimes. This didn't happen earlier. So what I want to do, just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna go back to the previous one that I had here. I'm gonna run the mirror script first. And just make sure that the mirroring is 100% correct. And then just overwrite that save, and then I'm gonna run the reset script again. Just as it is default. I don't think that problem was there before. Actually, before I do that, I just want to bring this hand up a little bit more. Just quickly remirror that. All right, give that a save. Let's hit the BindPose again. Okay, select the geometry. Now you can see there, this is still the skeleton that has rotation on it, right? Let's run it. Yeah, it's definitely happening. I wonder if it's not got to do with the mirroring, which is interesting. I didn't notice that before. Maybe it was there all along and I didn't see it. But no matter. It's an easy fix. Right, I'm gonna save this. So I want to make sure there are no other weird geometry like that anywhere. I'm pretty sure I would have noticed it before. Interesting. Okay, so now that's done. And if we check our rotation axis now, these have been oriented to the world, which is what you want for the Mixamo animations. We'll switch that off. Our skinning information is still here. Right, what I'm going to do now, close my script window, I don't need it. Select my whole skeleton and re-import that animation. Oh, yeah, that wasn't right. Atom import animation. Right, it's the same file there, walk anim. I'm choosing import method selected, match method hierarchy. That's why I'm selecting the whole skeleton. And I'm using set the time range from file, and I'm just going to hit apply. Okay, now I didn't skin the head, I only skinned the neck because I usually don't skin the head. It doesn't matter. I don't really want any rotations on the head. So I'm just going to break these connections and zero out the head. I know for cartoony characters, obviously you want to skin the head as much as you can, and just quickly see where are all the keys. They seem to end there by around 21. So I'm just going to set my time slider, and this, at least the hands aren't cocking as much as they were before. I want to really slow this down, playing at 24 FPS 1/5. Let's take a look. So this worked. It's a little bit of weirdness in the feet. The hands look a little bit stiff, but I mean, you could easily fix that up. And this took absolutely no time at all. This recording has now been, what, 27 minutes, so most of it has been me spending time explaining how it works. So you can get a fast result really quickly. As you can see, the legs are buckling as well from the walk. It's not terrible. The hips there is nice, but that side looks a little bit iffy. Now that could be, you could tweak this, right? You could tweak, go back to your T pose, fiddle again. You don't have to go back to your previous save. You can reset the bind pose here. You can't do it while there's any active animation on it. So you have to break those connections first, delete the animation, and then just do your tweaks, and then hit the reset bind pose script again, your mirror reset bind pose. But yeah, it's working. You can see her head's a little bit down, a little bit, almost like she's not looking where she's going. Now normally this would be playing back at this speed here. It looks a little bit better. She's walking, but I feel this is a little bit too fast, to be honest. And I removed all translation. So you'd probably want to bring back some translation in the hips to get that squash and stretch going. Well, you know, probably not the hips. There will be some translation values. Now you can't bring in the translation values from Mixamo because the translation values from your skeleton aren't going to match. So it's going to break the rig completely. So you'll have to add that yourself. So that's why the next script will be just a script to convert between the skeleton here, and then just replace this with the control scheme. So it'll replace these and copy over all the animation to the controls. You can do your modifications and then just hit a button, and it'll basically, this is basically a baked animation. So we would want to take it from here and bring it back to controls. Because when we export this mesh to Unreal, we can't export it with controls. This skeleton and the hierarchy is very important. If we break this and then try and export it to Unreal, that won't work, because then they're all going to be flattened. So that's what the script will do. It will flatten the hierarchy and then create the controls in this hierarchy and move the animations to the controls, and then drive the controls, and then drive these skeletons. And then once you're happy, you'll just hit a button and it'll just bake it down back onto the skeleton, so you can easily work between the two. But that script isn't written yet, so I haven't done that yet. Orthographic views are currently locked. Oh, this happens sometimes. You actually have to recreate them. I can't remember. Oh. It's lost my perspective view. Can't remember, how does that happen how did that happen last time? Deleted my perspective view somehow. It's just not the first time this happened, I promise you that. But it doesn't matter, I'm not going to be saving this. There's one more animation I want to bring in. So let's go. I would have preferred that animation to come in into a layer, but when we export animations to our game engine, we're going to be exporting single FBX at a time. That's the preferred way of working, and that's how we're going to be working as well. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to break connections. Right? And then just zero everything out. Go back to the T-pose. And there's nothing on there. I want to bring in one more animation and quickly show you how I created that atom file. So I'm just going to save this here as 123. What's this thing's problem? That's because I broke the startup camera. I don't know what I've done. Perspective one. Yeah. Don't know what happened. Okay. Let's go to new scene here. So these animations you can download from Mixamo. Currently they're free. I don't know for how long they're going to be free. It's not going to be forever. So download all the ones you need while you can. Let's head on over to pack. Here's a little test pack. I'm going to bring in the skinning test here. So this is what it looks like. Playing at full speed. Now obviously you can really see your skinning issues, so I'm guessing there's going to be issues because of the fingers. If you look at the orientation of these fingers, they're very, very straight. Very, very straight, almost like they're all on the same plane. And the thumbs are going forward and they're all on the same plane too. Well, they're not really all on the same plane. They're a little bit angled. So you want to try and hit this as best you can. Should probably keep a copy of this for you when you try and change it to match this pose before you reset your BindPose. Okay, so you select your whole skeleton and you just go File, Atom, Export, but I only choose those three, X, Y, and Z, and then I export animation to a very specific place. I'm just going to put this in animation here, and I'll call this test. Let's call it Mixamo skin test. .atom. So animation layers, I don't care about that. There is none. There are none. Static values, back to animation, yes. Hierarchy selected. From channel box for channels, because there's only those three that I want. And then here we're going to go start end and 0 to 200. That's actually how long this animation is. It goes from 0 to 200. It should have gone from 0 to 200. Oh, it's not. It's on 68, sorry. It is 68. Yeah, that's how it got imported as. All right, so we'll make that 0 to 68. And let's see, apply and close. Right. Let's open up our previous model. I think it was 123. Yeah, I broke the perspective camera somehow. Okay, this is the T-pose. Let's bring in that animation. import Mixamo test skin. Right, going to be replacing. Let's leave those defaults and use from file and apply. See what happens. It's almost like something sunk in a little bit there. I want to zero out break any animations on the head because I don't want that. And just make sure it's set to 0. And we need to go to 68 here, and let's see how bad it looks. Let's hide the skeleton here for a second. Yeah, it's better than I thought. I mean, I'm definitely not the world's best rigger. I think that's how I broke the camera earlier. By selecting things I shouldn't be selecting while it's busy playing animations. But okay, there you get the idea. Yeah, sure, the clothes are going to be sticking through. That's why we need them to have a bit more leeway. But you'll see when you get really close, it doesn't. Well, it shouldn't. There, it's definitely going through. So it just depends on the pose. I would have liked some. Now Mixamo doesn't have any jaw, so the jaw is only our meshes are going to have that. You can see some tearing here, where the skinning is not that great. So, but like I said, this skinning here was done in a day, so I would expect skinning to take a bit longer than that if we're going to be doing it for our characters in game. But okay, that's the script, that's the video, and this is to show you how to use it. Alrighty.